Hello there, Spartans, and welcome back to a new video. So, there it is. We've seen it all the new footage of Age of Empires 4, fresh from the Microsoft fan event, which was streamed earlier today. And as you can imagine, everyone was eagerly awaiting the reveal, as it has literally been 4 years in the making. So, as promised in my previous video, I'm here to talk about all the information dropped in the event, and well, to be honest with you, I was fairly happy with what I saw, but we're going to talk about it, and of course I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on it as well, so please do share them down below in the comments section. So firstly, let's go through the definitive edition information which was showcased to us for both Age of Empires 2 and 3, but as you can imagine, this event was very much more about what was in store for Age of Empires 4, and I think they knew not to keep us waiting anymore for that. So Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition gets the Dawn of the Dukes expansion this summer. This takes the players to Eastern Europe with new campaigns. Later this year, Age of Empires 2 will then get co-op historical battles that feature hand-picked campaign missions and historical battles to play with friends. So maybe I'll be able to live stream some of that, possibly with someone like Lionheart, who I'm sure will be up for playing that. So that'd be quite good to do later on this year. So keep your eyes peeled for it. And finally, on the 13th of April, 3 days from now, Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition gets its first major update with the United States civilization. This new civilization features a new home city, 9 new units, a new age-up mechanic, and more. The US civilization is free for a limited time for those who complete a 50-state challenge. Players need to basically complete up to 3 challenges per day and then unlock the civilization on the completion of the last challenge. Alternatively though, you can buy it as a premium DLC. And another update will be coming later this year for the game, and this includes an African civilizations pack. So more to look forward to later on down the line with that. But of course, now for the main event, Age of Empires 4. So it was confirmed, which we pretty much knew already, that it's going to be set in the medieval era. It was a safe bet for Relic to take it back to what was the setting for essentially Age of Empires 2. And well, the more I look at this game, I'm more of the belief that this is going to be kind of a soft reboot for the franchise as opposed to a sequel in the series. I mean, you can't really have a gap of 16 years and not to expect the next iteration to directly follow on. You know, a lot has changed in that time, so it will feel kind of a refresh, but from what we saw, it is still keeping to its core values and game mechanics. I mean, it isn't a bad thing for Age of Empires 4 to look or feel like Age of Empires 2, but Reddit could certainly be playing on the nostalgia strings with this one. Like many of the previous Age of Empires though, again like Age of Empires 2, the Age of Kings, that shipped with 5 campaigns, each having multiple playable scenarios that will progress in a storyline, and each centered of course around a different civilization. For example, William Wallace, the Scottish and English campaign, you've got the Joan of Arc and France campaign, and then of course you've got like the Mongols with Genghis Khan. And this is no different. Again, it's given the players that sense of a global adventure, and as well campaigns that will place you in the middle of historical events that have always been a standout focus of the Age of Empires series. And Relic is taking that idea even further in Age of Empires 4. The game will feature 4 full-length campaigns, including one focused on the Norman conquest. And this was a standout moment for me during the live stream. I was pretty happy to see that one. Now you will advance through familiar tech levels that we've seen before. In this case, the Dark Age, Feudal Age, Castle Age, and then finally the Imperial Age, commanding 8 distinct civilizations at launch. Now the ones we know about so far, we've got the English, the Indian Delhi Sultanate, the Chinese, and the Mongols. Now apparently the faction list will not be restricted to only Europe and Asia. And while only 8 civilizations at launch does seem like a fairly small number compared to past games in this series, they are putting a lot of emphasis on making each one have a distinct gameplay style. This meant adding more complex and nuanced gameplay mechanics to each of the civilizations to make them feel unique in a way. All will roughly abide, of course, by the classic rock, paper, scissors triangle of the pikemen against cavalry, against range units, that sort of element that we've come to know a lot within strategy games. Now, one of the standout details for me in the stream, in addition to progressing visually from age to age, your unit's language will change as well. And I did notice this in the live stream, that each faction did have very much of their own stamp and specific dialogue that was picked up within the stream itself during the gameplay moments. Now, the English of the Dark Age, for example, will be speaking Old English at the beginning, a much more of a heavily kind of Germanic language that isn't really that intelligible to modern English speakers, for example. But then as you progress throughout the ages, the language spoken will ultimately change, and therefore by the end of the Imperial Age, they'll be chatting in a form of sort of early modern English, similar to what Shakespeare spoke, for example, which modern speakers can probably understand without that much trouble. I say that much. It's not absolutely perfect, but it can be picked up to be fairly similar in some ways. This will apply, of course, to the 8 civilizations, and Relic sought out native speakers of the language in question when possible to record many of the lines. Now, each civilization's musical theme will become more complex and layered as you advance, I believe, as well. And the whole world will even become more vibrant and saturated as you progress out of the Dark Ages and approach the Renaissance Age as well. So the Norman campaign of the game, which was of course, as I say, a standout part for me, follows the fight, as we know, between Harold Godwinson, the King of the Anglo-Saxons, and William the Conqueror. The campaign features many massive battles throughout the conflict's history, including the major famous battle, the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and will stretch over many years beyond, showing the fallout of William's victory both in England and France. And the campaign will also bring players to a variety of different battlefields and environments, including bright French fields and sprawling English castles. And again, following on from what I said in my previous video, the game looked absolutely gorgeous. It really did. The colours were vibrant, the world looked rich in detail, it felt alive. And not to mention the lighting as the sun rays shone down from the skies as it burst through the clouds. And as well, the terrain looked beautiful. Really did take full advantage of being in this 3D world with dramatic cliffs and hills that will undoubtedly give the player an advantage in combat. I was really impressed with all of that. Now, during the presentation, as I said before, Relic detailed 4 of the new playable factions that the game will include, and one of those was the Delhi Sultanate from India. They had a few standout features, but by far the biggest, and excuse the pun, was the massive war elephants, which looked tremendous. It definitely had that feel of a Rome 2 or Rome 1 game with Carthaginian elephants and things like that. It kind of gave me that feel again to the game. But yeah, lovely to see them in Age of Empires, so they'll be great. I'm sure they'll cause absolute devastation. We did get clips of them smashing through castle walls and city gates and just causing absolute devastation. So yeah, they will be pretty fun to control, I'm sure. Now, alongside all of this, we got to see some special mechanics from the Mongols, who can now basically pack up an entire city and move it somewhere new. And this, of course, would fit the Mongols' real-world nomadic lifestyle. They were truly a nomadic faction, and they are able to move all of their buildings, including their town centre, around the map. And of course, if you played Attila, you will be used to this mechanic with the Huns. They also won't be able to build any walls due to their mobility, but it also gives the civilization an entirely new and unique gameplay option. A Mongol player might create a small city just outside of their enemy's base and use it to create troops in the blink of an eye, and then simply move the city when things get a little dangerous perhaps. As well as that, units can now man walls around a city to fight off attacks, making sieges more complex and suitably dramatic, with the developers saying that so much time has passed and other strategy games have evolved and iterated how real-time strategy works, so they've got to really evolve with that in Age of Empires 4 as well. Now we also got to see a glimpse of the new stealth/ambush forest mechanic, and this involves unique patches of forest that units can hide within to set up ambushes. Now this means that sight into and within these forest areas is severely limited, meaning that armies could move right past each other and never see each other. However, you do know that your units are in stealth woods by the blue outline around them and their whispered responses. Now, of course, for me, spending much of the last decade playing games in the Total War series, like obviously on my YouTube channel, Age of Empires still kind of looks like a throwback to me. You know, Total War battles let you bring in thousands of troops and kind of play at something that does resemble more real strategy. The scale of Total War is on another level. In Age of Empires 4, a unit of pikemen looks like just kind of 3 men as opposed to 100 in a Total War game, and cavalry seem to gallop to an infantry line and then sit there dueling instead of smashing through in a realistic show of physics like you would get in the more up-to-date Warhammer titles. But Total War's combat definitely leans towards simulation. You know, Age of Empires 4 probably isn't trying to go for that. I don't think it has to be either, but I wonder how different its battles will feel from old real-time strategy games, which have fallen out of fashion in a way in the last decade. Maybe the fidelity will be enough to make Age of Empires 4 captivating. There's a real special feeling that RTS games can give you when they look beautiful, you know, like this. Now, undoubtedly, Total War has some giant battles within it, but otherwise I don't think it has much of what makes Age of Empires so fun. Creating a city, building by building, watching it come to life, and of course then encircling it with a giant, immense wall. On that note, however, though, it could be that of Manor Lords, which will be more the competitor to Age of Empires than Total War. We'll have to, of course, wait and see, but it does look to have the beauty of combining both elements of Total War and Age of Empires. Now, of course, looking at the footage, and I've already said this, they are definitely trying to keep with the core theme of the game of what Age of Empires is. You have a base where you gather resources of food, wood, gold, stone, and train your armies of around 200 units, though the campaign will sometimes let you exceed this, I believe, and send them out to conquer your enemies. Each peasant or cavalryman presents a stylized spin on history, you know, with strong silhouettes and bright, easy to read colours. The camera stays at a pretty safe distance by default, and the focus is on the character of your entire civilization much more than any individual. Now, even though the live stream today did not specify an exact release date, it has said that it launches this autumn in 2021. Now, that could be that they are leaving their opportunities open, or it may be that they'll be able to easily fall back upon that and say, well, actually, no, we couldn't meet the deadline of this fall for 2021. We're going to push it back to 2022, as opposed to if they're given an actual proper release date, it may have been harder to actually push that further back. And as well, it could potentially take a little bit of pressure away from them instead of giving an exact date for the release of it. It will, however, be available on PC via Steam and the Windows Store, and will be available day one on Xbox Game Pass for PC. But it should be playable sooner for some people. A closed beta will be available way before launch, and that will be accessible via the Age Insider program. It doesn't guarantee you absolute definite closed beta, but if you do sign up to that Age Insider program, it does give you a chance at getting invited into one of those beta sessions. Now, what does give me some form of confidence with Age of Empires 4, while others it leaves more sceptical because of the fact it's Relic in particular, is that it's not being made by the same team as its predecessors. Relic, by contrast, have the benefit of outside perspective on the Age of Empires formula, as well as a wealth of hindsight and player data, given that they're working on Age of Empires 4 with Microsoft franchising studio World's Edge. They're also a studio with a lot of practical experience when it comes to winning formulas for RTS games. They made some of their own, famously Homeworld, Company of Heroes and Dawn of War. But yes, we do know, and I failed to mention it really, I should say, in my previous video, that yeah, Dawn of War 3 wasn't their finest hour, so that can be where the skepticism is coming from other people with regards to Relic taking on this game. However, in some ways Age of Empires 4 looks overly traditional, and I find myself wishing they had taken more risks not to be so safe with the setting of this game. As I said at the beginning, this definitely feels like a reboot more than a new addition. It leaves me kind of with mixed feelings of both frustration in a way and excitement. The former because it feels like it's more of a remaster than an outright new game, but the latter because it does look fantastic in a lot of ways, which I can't fault, the way it looks and how it feels. Even though the setting isn't new, it does feel fresh from an aesthetic perspective, and the gameplay kind of strategy does feel like it has been worked upon to bring it to a modern audience. I must admit, I am particularly impressed and looking forward to the Norman campaign. That is a particular highlight for me. It's just a great moment in history, and always sort of is something that I enjoy playing in other medieval strategy games in the past, and therefore I am looking forward to what sort of spin Age of Empires can put on it. But that's pretty much what we got from today's live stream. Hopefully I've summed it up in a digestible kind of format for you. Now, as and when any more news and gameplay reveals are shown to us in the future, rest assured, as I said in my previous video, I shall be there to cover it for you on the channel. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As I say, make sure you let me know down below in the comments your thoughts and feelings from what you've seen today. Maybe you are kind of same as me, feeling a bit of mixed emotion with where it's going. Maybe you completely hate what they're doing, or maybe you're really looking forward to it. Either way, I want to hear from you down below. It'd be interesting to read your thoughts and opinions, and I would definitely be replying to a lot of them in the comment section later on. So yeah, as I say, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, take care and farewell.